So welcome back to part 2 of this 3-part series. Hopefully you were able to practice a bit with the checkout and check-in screens and use the shortcuts to get in and out of that screen. Now we'll see how to use patron records. So patron records can be accessed by clicking F6 or F7. So we can go ahead and click that. You will see the object says patron records. Searching for patron record is the way we get access to view the patron's account. We can see how many items they have out, what fines they have, if any, notes, holds, contact information, etc. We'll look more closely at those screens at a later time, but right now we're learning how to look up the patron to make sure that we have the correct patron up. If you select search, you can see there are a few different options that we can search by. Let's start with how we do not look up. We do not look up by phone number or address or email. We get a lot of patrons requesting that we look them up by contact information. We cannot do that. Kindly let them know that we can either use their library card or they can use their one-time lookup with their photo ID. But if they've already used their lookup, they can purchase a replacement card for $1, and we'll go over how to do that later on. So what do we do when searching for a patron? Well, first and the most preferable choice would be to use their barcode. If they have an account issue, we want to scan their barcode into the patron records to pull up their account. So under search by, you're going to go ahead and select barcode. Then make sure the cursor is in the 4. Then we're going to go ahead and scan their barcode. We'll see that their account's going to pop up below. Either double click or press enter, and then it'll take you to the patron status page, and we'll have access to all the detailed information we need on this page. And we'll go over that a little bit more in detail later, but just know double click or press enter and it brings us there. If we are doing the one-time lookup, or if we are checking to see if they're still in the system before having them sign up for a new card, then we can look them up by the driver's license or a state-issued ID number. If you do this, it could potentially pull up multiple cards. So this is usually because a parent has registered their children who are listed under the parent's ID. So let's go ahead, we'll enter in a driver's license number here, and then you can see what we mean. So, one second, let's make sure the cursor's in there, and then we'll type it in and press enter. So we see 2 pop-ups are here because they have the same ID listed. And so confirm whose patron account you're dealing with, and then proceed by double clicking on the record or pressing enter on the record you want. And again, this will take you to that patron status page. Now, what if you didn't look up with the ID and it didn't pop any searches? Do not assume they don't have an account in the system. Do the lookup by the name listed on the ID, because there could be a typo with the ID number. So to clarify, we do not use the name if they give it to us verbally. We can use the name if we're pulling it off their ID. So go pull the drop-down menu down, use last first, because sometimes doing the first, middle, last can cause issues if you're missing the middle name. And then go ahead and enter the name in. So last, comma, first, and then you can see what pops up when you do this. So we'll go ahead and type in the name, reading, comma, Olive, and then the name pops up. Now, to give a more specific issue that can arise, if a patron comes up after having signed up for a new card, we'll have to do the lookup by name because we haven't inputted the driver's license quite yet, and obviously they don't have a new barcode yet. So what we do is search by name. Most times there's no issue finding them. However, if they have a common name, this could pose a problem. So if there are too many records with that name, you can start by giving a cursory glance at the birth date and see which one matches the one on the ID. So let me give you an example of this. We will go back up to R4, we'll type in Ramirez, comma, Oscar, press enter. We see we get a lot of these in the system. So to make sure we're pulling up the right one, you can check the birth date to see if any of them match the birth date of what's on the driver's license itself. If it's a brand new card, you can also take a quick glance at the barcode on the left-hand side, and if you see something with a PACREG, so P-A-C-R-E-G at the beginning before numbers, that could be an indicator that that's their card as well. And then afterward, just confirm the birth date. Now, if you really can't find them, there's way too many names. We can do a search by birth date. So we want to search for an Oscar Ramirez who was born on March 10th of 1987. So we put that on both the from and to, because we're just searching for on that one day. So again, look, see, all of them have that same birthday. So this is everyone in the system with that birthday. Then you can go ahead, check the barcode again if you'd like. If you're still not really finding anything, you can sort by name by clicking that heading. So if I click name, it sorts it alphabetically by name. And then I went under ours and we see Ramirez Oscar. We see that the birth date matches. That's the patron that we're looking for. So these are just some of the little tricks you can use when trying to find a patron in the system. Usually it works. If you're still having trouble, make sure the patron didn't use a nickname or a different name. Like if this person was going by Ozzy, we might not have found him. And that can actually really throw you off on what you're looking for. Now, the last way to look a patron up that'll be helpful is by record ID. We'll only do this when we're studying an item record. So this, I'll show you an item record screen. We'll go over this more later. So I'm scanning the barcode of the item. I'm looking up the item record. I'm going to history. Now on the right hand side, I want to see, it went into out. I want to see which patron this action was done with. So on the right hand side, we have that patron ID. So I want to see who was that? Who went into out on that particular date? So we pull up F6 again. This time, our search by criteria is going to be record ID. And then in the 4, we're going to put that ID number that's listed all the way on the right side. And so this is if we want to go further back than that last borrower. When we put in that number, that patron ID is connected with the patron that was associated with that action, if that makes sense. So we want to go further than the last borrower because that's always listed for us. We want to know when did this issue happen back in February, and then that's how we can pull them up. And now it'll make more sense when we go over item records. So those are the different ways we look up a patron. To recap, F6 and F7 is the command key to bring up patron records. We can look up a barcode, name on driver's license number, birth date, and record ID. Those are just the most common ones. Now let's reset your defaults to whichever you think would be best. I personally use F6 as barcode, F7 as driver's license. So I'm going to click F6. I'm going to go ahead, select barcode. From there, I'm going to go to options, save as user default. And then I'm going to hit F7. Right now, the default is last first. I'm going to go down to driver's license, back to options, and again, save as user default. So when I use Alt F4, which is to close out these two screens, and I pull them up again, now it automatically comes up as barcode when I hit F6, automatically comes up as driver's license when I hit F7. And this just makes it easier for you to do the lookups. Things are just quicker instead of having to do that drop down each time. So now we'll move on and see what the lookup brings us to next, which is the patron status screen. Okay, so now we've learned how to look up patron records, F6 or F7, scan that barcode, and we are going to press enter, or we're going to double click on their record so that we can pull up this view, and this is patron status. So it's important to differentiate the titles of the different screens so we know exactly what we're working with. So this screen is showing us a variety of important information. Notice the top here, it's the same information that we saw on the checkout screen. So we won't go over that again, but I do want you to notice that on the left-hand side, we do have a variety of icons there. Now, the icons on the left-hand side of the screen are really what makes this different, and these are all going to be important, but we do not typically use all of them. There may be instances when you do, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to go over what we typically use in a day. So the 5 that we use most are in the general. This is referred to as the general tab. Then items out, account, holds and requests, and then of course notes there on the bottom. So let's go back up to the general tab. In general, we can add blocking notes. This will bring up a pop-up when we scan the patron's barcode to check out. So for example, the note listed here is for an item is held. And if we were to go ahead, pull up F3 for the checkout screen, and we were to scan the patron's barcode, we would see this pop-up come up. So we're going to go F3, scan the barcode, and we see the pop-up come up here for a held item. So when it's in the general blocking notes, it's going to pop up when you check out, so you're alerted to whatever message is there. There are also other blocks, so if we press add, we can see the other available options that we have. There's things such as address check, ID verification, verify phone, lost card, among others. And these are important to note and can easily be added. You would just select whichever one you would like and then press OK. But you must remember, when an issue is resolved, it is important to come back and delete the note. For example, let's say that we choose verify phone. So we press OK, we added that. When we verify the phone with the patron when they come in person next time, we make sure that we click it and press delete. That way the block is not continuing on their account. They can use their online account, they can use the self-checkouts, and don't continuously have to be asked the same question of verifying that phone number. So make sure you delete the notes when you're done with them. You can also add a free text note if you want to put something specific. They aren't as helpful. It'd be better to put anything that isn't a standard note in a different area that we'll go over later. That area is called the non-blocking notes, and we'll see that in the notes section on that bottom tab. But it is an option if you need it. So remember, this section as a whole is referred to general blocking notes. To the right of that, we have the notice section. This will let you know if and when our system sent a notice to the patron either via text or email. In this case, our system sent a notification to Olive Reading regarding her hold being here for her to pick up. And it sent that via email. So below the general tab, we have items out. This will show you how many and which items are out on the patron's account currently. So let's go ahead and look at the different sections and headings in this area. So we have, of course, the barcode. It tells you which specific item it is. And then right next to that, we also have the title and the author. It tells you the due date, and it will have a caution symbol listed all the way on the left-hand side if it is overdue. So if you see this symbol or if you see the due date coming up, be sure to ask the patron if they'd like you to renew it. If yes, then you can either select renew or renew all. We will go over how to do that in a minute. To the right of that, though, we do have the call number, which is important because if a patron claims that they have turned in an item, but it still is on their account, then you would have to use this call number to do a shelf check for the book. A shelf check is simply checking to see if the item is on our shelf. Both the call number and the barcode would have to match in order for us to waive the fine if they were charged an overdue fine for it being on their account too long. To the right of this is also material type and the renewals left. This is also important because this will show how many more times they can renew it. If it's at 0, they'll not be able to renew anymore. And they need to know this because they need to know if they absolutely have to turn it in. That way they won't get charged for fines if they can't make it in and they didn't realize that they were out of renewals. In the last column, we have assigned branch. This is important because if a patron has an issue with a particular item that is not from our branch, sometimes you'll have to go ahead and refer them to that library since they may have a different policy regarding the item. This happens with things such as damages and snags. It can also happen with fines, we'll find out later, but it's always important at least to give a quick glance, which library is this item from. Now let's go over the icons above this information. First, we have the printer icon. This will print a receipt of all the items on their account with due dates. Sometimes patrons want a consolidated receipt, or they've lost theirs and want a new one. The next is renew. Renew is followed by renew all. So if you want to renew, you click the item that you would like to renew, and if you want to do more than one, then while holding down the control key, you can click the additional items. When you have selected everything you want to renew, then select this icon. Of course, renew all will renew all of the items. Be careful with that though, because you don't want to waste a renewal for a patron by clicking renew all when they didn't want to. So let's go ahead, we'll renew 3 out of the 4 of these overdue ones. We'll click yes. It'll ask us if we want to charge the account because it's charging them for being late. Click charge the account, and then it'll renew them, and they have the new due date listed next to them. Typically it automatically spits out a receipt for you. In this case, the receipt wasn't connected yet. So these other icons are not as important. The only other one that you may use on a semi-regular basis, but not quite, would be declared lost. If the patron comes in to pay for an item that they absolutely cannot find and they are out of renewals, then you would declare the item lost, but make sure you ask your supervisor for help and direction if this situation arises. So on to the next icon, the account, which shows you any account charges. These charges are listed and tell you the amount, the day, the reason, and who charged it. You can never waive another branch's charges, so make sure that's something you pay attention to if you are waiving any charges. You cannot waive it if it comes from a different branch. So if a patron asks a question about their charges, you can let them know more details based off of this information. If you look right above, we see different money icons. So we'll only go over the ones we use. The first icon listed there is to charge. So we select that. You insert the amount you want to charge, the reason. So we'll put replacement card, an associated item barcode if necessary, and notes if necessary. So that would be as if it was a damaged item, we would put the item that is damaged, the barcode number there, and then we'll put in the notes liquid damage. But in this case, we'll just do replacement, press OK. You'll see the new charge listed. If the patron wants to pay for a certain fine, that's the next icon. So it's just the pay button. You'll then select which ones you want to pay for, press pay. You can either do cash or check. Mostly we use cash. Press OK, and you see the charge disappears. Now if a patron wants to pay all, then right next to pay is pay all. You'll just select that and press OK. Everything will clear out. You can always select pay all and then insert a finite amount. For example, let's say the patron just wants to pay $1.25. Just reduce the amount to $1.25, press OK. It only takes off $1.25 of that. And this is only if they have a specific amount of money and the current charges on there don't add up to $1.25 amongst all the different charges. So you can just pay a certain amount by using that little trick. So, and you can always waive, but you'll need guidelines from your supervisor when you can do that, and you always make sure you put a note when you waive. Typically this happens if they say they've turned it in and we did find it on the shelf. Note that. Put the date, put SCY / your initials in all caps, and then put the note afterwards. So item found on shelf, and then press OK before waiving. Make sure you always put a note with that, and make sure you have permission before you waive any fines, and it's from our library branch. The last icon that we use is the transaction summary. So this will show us past transactions. You just press on it, shows you when it charges, when they paid, when we waive. If you right click a transaction and then select properties, you can find out more information about that particular transaction, when it was done, what item it was done on, if there's any notes. If you go to the About tab on there, you can see who did the waiving. So that is my ID tag right there, so you know who to talk to, and then it has an exact date as well. So it gives you a lot of information. And if you ever need to do a claims, that's the very next icon. Just let your supervisor know. But the next icon we're going over is holds. This will show you the different hold requests that a patron has, meaning that they are requesting material from a different library within our system. If it's an ILL that's listed below, that means that they had to pay a $5 fee, and it comes from outside of our Riverside County system. So these are all the patrons' hold requests. We see there is an item record and a bib level record request. The one with the little eye icon is an item record request. This means that you are requesting a specific item with a specific barcode, as opposed to the bib level request, which means that any book in that system, that's available, will now come to the patron. And so usually the item will come back faster. If we have 10 copies of Harry Potter, whichever one comes back first will go to the patron if it is a bib level request. If it's an item level, it'll just have that one Harry Potter book with that one barcode asked for. These are two others we really won't go over. Hold links you might go over with your supervisor, but the last important one is our notes. So these are important for keeping tabs on the patron, and if we have had issues with them from before, we'll also use this when noting their one-time courtesy lookup. The left is non-blocking notes, while the right is our blocking notes. If you need this to pop up, prevent a checkout, then put it in the blocking notes. Otherwise, we keep tabs and keep our history of all of our notes on the non-blocking side. And so you always want to use the same format when doing notes. This would be an example here. So you're going to put the date, and then in all caps, you're going to put SCY / your initials, and then the note follows after. So in this case, we'll do one-time courtesy lookup. So we see that, we know they're going to have to purchase a replacement card. After you finish your note, press save at the very top, or you can do Control S. And always remember to use this format, and more information is better than less. So if an account issue like a damage, snag, or bad interaction seems noteworthy, then note it. It can always be taken away later by your supervisor. Remember not to delete anybody else's notes though. When you have to put a new note in, you're going to go ahead, press enter, bring that old note down. The newest note is going to be inserted at the top. We want the most recent information at the very top, so we don't have to scroll down every time we open up a new account. So we'll put in a new note here, and notice that the date, it's a more recent date, because we want, again, most recent information on the top. This is very important. Go ahead and finish that note. Okay, remember, as always, to click save or Control S. So we click save, and take a look at the other icons that are available on the top for you. We have the save button, of course. We also have print. You can print current view, all view, list view. You can go straight to the checkout screen from here. Just click yes. From that patron status page, we can check out to them. And then there is also refresh. So if we make any changes to the registration, which we'll look at later, that'll pop up here, and we'll be able to have the most updated information. So remember, we have general, we have items out, we have account, we have holds, and we have our note. So notice how the pad is yellow. That's because it's in the non-blocking side. We have notes. If there were no notes at all, it'd be blue. I'm gonna go ahead, add in a blocking note, and blocking note will turn that notepad red. So no notes, blue, non-blocking yellow. We save it right here with the blocking notes, and it's red. But now let's take a look at the registration page. So we're gonna go ahead and click F9. That'll toggle us over to that registration page, and we'll see you in a bit to talk about what the different elements there are and how that plays into signing a patron up for a brand new library card. So welcome back. Now we're going to go over that patron registration page. Like we've already said, that F9 will allow you to toggle back and forth between that status and registration page. So go ahead, hit F9. This is the registration page. We continue to hit F9. It brings us back and forth, back and forth. So that's just the way to navigate between the two. Notice the difference between the two different pages and what distinguishes them. For me personally, it was hard to distinguish the two until I really understood what each of them were presenting to me on the screen. And I also needed to mentally clarify which icons were associated with which screen. So for the status page, we have things like account charges and items out. For the registration page, we have things like contact information and the limited access agreement. So it also says in letters on the side which screen you're on. So that says registration, that one says status. So just keep them separated and clear in your mind. Let's toggle to the registration screen by hitting F9, and then we'll get started. So the first thing we're going to go over is the icons listed on the side. So the first icon is address and phone, the one on the very top here. And it has other contact information as well. The next one is the general tab under registration. So this is different from the general tab listed in status, and they are not the same thing, and they do not have the same information. So they're two different. Registration has a general, status has a general. We don't typically use the bottom two, but they are called status and custom data in case you are curious, but we use the top two on the registration screen. So this is what it looks like in general when it's filled out, but in order to better understand the information, let's pretend we're creating a new card from scratch. And then after that, we'll show you how to create a card after a patron has done the sign up online. So they filled out the application online and are coming in to finish the application process. And then lastly, we'll go over how to renew an account because they expire every 3 years. So Alt F4 to get rid of those screens like we just did. Go to that white paper icon in the top left corner, click that, press P on the keyboard, that'll bring you to page and record, then hit enter, and then that'll bring us to a blank application. So make sure you have the driver's license for the patron, make sure that it's not expired. And then the first thing we're going to do is to scan a barcode of a new unused card. So make sure the cursor is in there and we will scan that barcode. Then after that, we're going to fill out the last name and the first name and the middle initial from the driver's license. So remember, you are pulling this not from verbal communication, but rather from the driver's license that they've presented to you as their valid form of ID. So last name, first name, middle initial. Don't put anything under title or suffix. We typically leave those blank. This is what title will show you if you select the drop-down menu. But again, we typically don't mess with those. Next, the registered branch should already be pre-selected for SCY, our Sun City. The patron code will remain limited below that until double-checked, meaning that their application is double-checked by another staff member, and they'll only be allowed to check out up to 2 items on that day that they sign up for the card. Once the double check is complete, their patron code will be altered. They'll be able to check out up to 30 items, but let's still check out and see what codes are available for them. So we see there are a variety of codes that are available to us. We only use certain ones though on a consistent basis, so we're going to go over those ones. So we have adult unfiltered, that's our standard code for an adult patron. Next, we have group home. Whoever is bringing in a child from the group home needs to just talk to a staff member and we get the account set up, and that's the code for it. Then there's homebound patrons who have a medical condition that prevent them from coming in very often. Usually their caretaker comes in, says, I'm here for so-and-so, they're homebound. We get the card from behind the front desk and then we check out to them. Usually their checkup period is extended to about 3 months. So they just come up, pick the card up, and then they get their books for them. Then after that we have internet only. If they're not presenting us with a form of valid ID and they really need to get on the computers, get supervisor permission, we might be able to create an internet only card for them, meaning they can't check out any items, only use the computer. Then after that we have juvenile filtered. This is the child code, so having this code they'll get on the children's computer if they want to. Library staff, that's you now, so you can go ahead and set your code to library staff. We have limited new card, meaning they can only check out those 2 items until their information is verified. Lost card, if a card is lost, we set this as a status code so that if they're trying to do self-checkout or do things online, it'll block them and they'll know to come up, and then we can give them their card back. Out of state, self-explanatory. I believe there's a fee. Ask your supervisor if this happens though. So in our case, this patron is a child, so we're going to set it to juvenile filtered. Then we have the expiration. Make sure that it's set from 3 years from today's date, and then as well as the address check down here, make sure that's also set for 3 years from today's date. Now we're going to add an address. So confirm with the patron that the address presented on the driver's license is their current mailing address. If it isn't, then ask if they have any verification, such as a piece of mail or a bill they can pull up on their phone. Then once you confirm their address, go ahead and you're going to select add. So here we go, click add, type in the address. And then if they live in an apartment, you can add that to the second line. And then you're going to type in the zip code. And then when you select the option for the zip code that pops up, make sure it includes the county. So we'll click Sun City, California, but the one that has county, Riverside County listed all the way to that right side. And sometimes multiple comes up, it's okay, just choose whichever one is correct. So we don't do anything with the notice address here. For notification option, ask if they would like phone, email, or text message notifications. If they want email and text, go ahead and select email and then click the box for the additional text notice. So here we select email, click that box. These notification reminders are usually for items being due back soon, they have stuff overdue, or they have an item ready for pickup. This drop-down menu shows you can do phone, text, or email. Those are typically the 3 main options. E-receipt options, leave as is. We do encourage them to add an email if they would like. If they elect not to add an email, when you save the patron record, it'll say reminder notices option is email. Do you want to continue? Just always say yes. So we're going to add an email in here though, so that pop-up doesn't come up. Then make sure to always add a phone number. We'll need this if we need to contact them for a snag item, a missing or damaged item. If they did want those text message notifications, we have to select a mobile carrier, and we must select that little text box next to the mobile carrier. So just click the drop-down menu, select who the mobile carrier is, and then select that little checkbox next to it that says text message. So the rest is extra. If they have other contact info that they would like to include, you can. However, these are just the basic components that are usually included on an application. Now let's go to the General tab. Notice how the top portion remained the same as we go to this next tab. So we're not going to go over that top part again. We'll go over what's beneath it. So first we have gender. You don't have to check it, but it can be helpful with gender neutral names, especially when making phone calls. And then we have statistical class. Make sure that it's always set to the Riverside County, the one with the M911. If it isn't there, the easiest way to do it, let's open this up here. Let's just select a random one. So if you don't have it set there, just open it, type in RIV, it brings you there, and press enter. So open, RIV, enter. You're literally just typing the letters. And then beneath that's the password. Each account is given a 4-digit PIN number. This number will allow them to access their account online, use the self-checkout, and gain access to computers. It's encrypted, so we cannot see it, but we are able to reset it for them if they show us their ID. And the default for this, if they don't know what to select, is the last 4 of their phone. That's what we'll end up setting it to. And language should be set to English. If they get a new replacement card, be sure to place the former barcode in this area before inputting the new barcode. In the event that something isn't saved properly, we'll be able to see what happened there. And of course, make sure the birth date's correct. In this case, oh wait, no, we don't want 1987. This is a kid's card, so we have to make sure that they have a birth year of a kid, so 2002. Just make sure that the birth date's correct on the driver's license, or confirm with the parent if the child is a minor. And then in the rest of the column, there's nothing that you need to touch. In the area with all the check boxes right below it, you don't have to check anything, just leave that as is. Now in the next column, we typically do not fill out the identification or student/alternate ID, but if a situation arises, let your supervisor know. If a patron is a minor, meaning they're under 18 years of age, we must have a parent or guardian listed on the account. This could be whichever parent is present to sign them up for the card. All you would do is simply put the parent's name. So in this case, we'll put Alex James and then hyphen the relationship, so father, for example. And then we briefly talked about the agreement signed portion earlier when we were looking at the checkout screen. Again, this box is for what we call the limited access agreement. If a patron wishes to grant access to another person, that person will only be able to pay fees and fines on the patron's behalf and pick up holds. That is it. The patron must sign the access agreement form, which is held behind the front desk. We will put the name and relationship in the box, like this. So, give it 1 second. We will type in Alex James hyphen, again, relationship, and then afterwards we're going to do SCY/initials and then date it. That way we keep records up to date. If the patron elects not to grant access to anyone, then we are going to put declined SCY initials and date. So instead of looking like this, we'll go ahead and erase that name. We'll just write declined, and then that's what it would look like. This way we are certain the patron was informed about their option to add someone. So for children, we strongly encourage them to grant access to the parents because parents will usually be financially responsible for their kids. So particularly if a child is under 15 years of age, we really want them to fill out that portion of the application and grant their parent access. And beneath that is the driver's license number. So you must have a driver's license in order for Polaris to allow you to even save the record. And you'll input the driver's license number here like this. When checking their ID, make sure that it isn't expired or it cannot be accepted. And then of course, once you finish filling out everything on the screen, you can go up to the top and click that save button, or you can use the shortcut Control S. This will save the record. If there's potential duplicate patrons, the information in the system matches another patron's information, then it'll pop up with a list of patrons, so we can see that here. Make sure that it doesn't seem like this is a duplicate patron. Many times it's just members of the same family popping up or people who had their old address popping up. So just do a quick double check. If it doesn't seem like they're actually a duplicate, just press continue. So now that we've made a card from scratch, let's go ahead and see how we can make a card from one created online. This means that the patron filled out the online application as opposed to the physical paper one. Most of the information then is already going to be inputted for you in this situation, but it's still important to know which information to change on our side when you're doing the patron registration. So to understand this though, it's best to understand what the patron does when they're actually filling out the online application and the online form. It'll also be useful because then you can help them with the form if necessary. So let's go to www.rivlib.net, which is our website. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to our website, therivlib.net. What we're going to want to select is My Account there on the top menu bar. At the very top, it's going to say if you don't have a library card, if you want to register, click there to register. And then just press OK to the pop-up message. First thing, you have to select a library. We'll just choose Canyon Lake for right now, and then type in your home zip code. Then you select your city. Just make sure to select one with a county associated with it. Then this is what the online form looks like. We'll put in our first, middle initial, and then last name. So we'll put James Black. The patron can choose whether they want to add a gender or not. The birth date they have to enter will be confirmed when they come up to the front with their driver's license. And same thing with the address that needs to be verified once they get to the front. They need proof of address either through a piece of mail, a bill they can show us online on their phone, or just on their ID if it's current. We'll add in an email address, and then we'll add in a phone. And in this case, after we add in the phone, we'll set it to text message notifications. And so when you do that, you have to make sure that you add a mobile carrier. So we'll go ahead, have phone 1 be for text messages, and then select our carrier, which is AT&T. We recommend against using a username because sometimes if someone else has that same username, it'll just block the entire account. So we recommend leaving that blank, but they do get a 4-digit PIN. They must remember this if they want to use their computers or access their account online. Once you click submit, you'll be given a temporary barcode that always starts with a PACREG, pack reg. We don't actually need this. If you have it, it can be nice if you can't find them in the system, but we're going to do the lookup with their ID, last name, first name. And then if not with birthday, which we've gone over already, but they are given this temporary barcode. So from here, let's see what all this information looks like on our Polaris screen once we do that lookup. So now that we've finished the online portion, let's go ahead and see how this pops up on our end in Polaris. So first thing you're going to want to do is ask for their driver's license and then give them a copy of our guidelines to look at while we're setting up the card. This will go over the different rules, regulations, and policies of our library, and they can just quietly read over it while we do the lookup and finish processing their account. So we've already learned how to do the lookup in a previous lesson. So if you remember, what you want to do is press F6 or F7, and this will bring up patron records. Select last first name. So last comma first, there we go. Put the cursor in the search box. So we're going to type the name in of the patron who just signed up for the account. So Black, comma James. Okay, so we see multiple patrons come up under that name. We know that he is the one born on May 5th, 1991 because that's what's listed on his driver's license. There we can see the birth date. And then notice on the left-hand side though, by the barcode number, we see that PACREG, pack reg before the numbers. That's what we were talking about earlier. And this is the temporary barcode that indicates it's a brand new account waiting to be processed. But just in general, if all the information matches, go ahead and select the record to finish. So we'll just double click or press enter on that record. Again, it takes us to the patron status page. We notice that the barcode has a pack reg number and the patron code says pack registration. So these are both temporary, but from here we're going to hit F9 and that'll allow us to toggle over to the registration page. So F9. The first thing we're going to do is change the patron code to an appropriate code. So we see if it's going to be adult unfiltered or juvenile filtered. So we'll go here. This is an adult. And then we're going to change the expiration and address check to 3 years from today's date. So we'll select year, change that to 3, and you can see it's 3 years from today's date. We're going to go ahead and do that to the bottom as well. So then we're going to make sure that the address matches what's on their ID or they have proof of address. Again, this can be a piece of mail or a bill that they bring up online, but they do need proof of address. And then that's all we need to do on this screen. Let's head over to the General tab, click on that. Change the statistical class to Riverside County. And again, an easy way to do this is to click once on it. So we'll click. Just go to the keyboard, type in RIV. It'll automatically take you to the Riverside County one, press enter, and then it's selected the correct one for you. And then that's all you need to do. Then after that, we'll fill out the driver's license number. So right there on the bottom. And then ask if they'd like to add anyone to their account to pay fees and fines or pick up holds on their behalf. If yes, then grab the appropriate form from behind the desk for them to fill out, and then you'll enter the first and last name along with the relationship of that person, and then afterwards it's followed by the notes. If it is a no, we're going to put declined and then those same notes at the back. So first we're going to put declined. Let's say this patron said no, they would not like to grant anyone access to their account to do those things. So we'll just type in declined, then SCY / initials, and then the date, so we keep that updated. Now again, if they did want to add someone, they filled out the form, let's take out declined. We're going to put in the first and last name and then the relationship of that patron. And add in wife, and then it still keeps those same notes in the back. But we'll just put it back to declined for right now. And remember, they do have to fill out that form in order for that to be valid. Now, if they are a minor, then we are going to need that parent guardian portion filled out at the top here. So if they're a minor, they actually should not have used the online form because we want them to automatically fill out that limited access agreement. But sometimes they come in already having filled that out. That's fine. Just make sure to list the parent guardian that signed them up for the account, and then grab the form from behind the desk and have them fill out that limited access agreement so they can grant their parents access. And then in the agreement signed, you would just put the parent's name and then parent. Now let's change that temporary barcode to an actual barcode. We'll scan that in, and then you're going to click Save. Once you click Save, it's going to ask you if you'd like to remove a block. Basically, this just means that you've verified all the information and you've reset the expiration dates. So go ahead and click Remove Block because we've done those things, and the account is now saved. So that's how you finish a card application that was started online, much quicker than starting it from scratch. But now we're going to go over how to renew an account once it has expired. Okay, so how do you renew a card, and also how do you know you need to renew a card? Usually you find out that the patron needs to renew their account in two different ways. Either they tell you because they got a notification that they need to renew, or when you try to check them out, you're going to get a block. So let's see what this block looks like. We'll pull out the checkout screen, and then we'll go ahead and scan a patron's barcode in whose account is expired. So this is the block that pops up. We have address check required and registration expired. Those are the two that are going to tell us we need to renew the account. Here they also have one item held. That can't be handled until the other two are cleared off and their account has been successfully renewed. So go ahead and click on patron registration page. That's one way to get there. The other way, if you click off up here, you can just click yes to the checkout. Click on one of those icons listed. That takes you to the patron status page. And then click F9 on the keyboard to toggle over to the patron registration. So either way, you can get to that patron registration page. Then from here, we can start the renewal process. So verify the mailing address as well as the phone number. Make sure that they're current and up to date, as well as any other contact information. If everything looks good, that means we can go ahead and on this screen, renew it for the next 3 years. So select years, make it 3 years from today's date. Same thing on the address check, change it from 3 years from today's date. Then after that, since everything is current on this screen, you can go over to the General tab. So when we're in the General tab, make sure that if they are giving someone access to their account, that they still want to continue to give this person access. If not, then take that person off, put declined in the notes, and then followed by the staff notes to know who did it and when. And if yes, then leave the name and update the date and initials behind the name listed. So if they're still giving Mary Black access or Mary Jones access, then we want to update that. We'll put SCY/initials and the date. And so if it was an older date and they still wanted to keep the person on the account, we're going to go ahead and then take that off. We'll update it to the new date if they still want to keep them on there. So we can just have an updated record of when's the last time that they've approved this person being on their account. If they don't want anyone on their account, again, just write declined followed by those same notes, SCY/initials and then the current date. This is just to keep everything very clean and very much updated. Ask if they'd like to update their PIN number or password. If they do or don't, make those changes, press save, and that's it. That's all there is to renewing. If you do toggle over back to that status page, you can also remind them to let them know if they have any fine charges, just to keep them updated. We should be doing this at checkout, but again, when we renew a card, it's also a nice courtesy to do this. So that Just to recap, it goes over patron records, patron status, and patron registration page. That's a very broad overlook on how we use patron records and how we access different parts to get more detailed information for the patron and how we can help them. And now we're going to head over, do some things with item records and bib records, show you how to put holds and then things in transit, and really what those mean and how we can better understand those screens as well. So just in general, this was patron records. Hope you had a better understanding. If you need to rewatch it, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we're going to head over to item records and bib records.